I have been afflicted by a peculiar ailment. The mere scent of my childhood companion's pheromones renders my legs weak, yet we are both alphas. In an effort to conceal this bizarre condition, I deliberately kept my distance from him. To my astonishment, as the new university semester commenced, we were assigned to share the same dormitory. The familiar aroma of red wine permeated the room, and throughout the long, sleepless night, I could only draw the curtains and bite down on my pillow to endure the torment. Realizing that my secret would inevitably be uncovered if this continued, I fabricated a story about finding an Omega partner and planned to move out. On the night I finally became unattached, Song Shurya caressed my scent glands, intentionally releasing pheromones that hastened my heat. His deep, seductive voice whispered temptingly in my ear, "Does the Omega's pheromone feel delightful when mixed with mine?" 1. After discovering my affliction and hastily fleeing, I envisioned countless scenarios of reunions with Song Shurya. Perhaps we would each have embarked on our respective careers. Perhaps we would have established our own families. Or perhaps it would merely be an accidental brush past each other on the street. However, I truly did not anticipate the events would transpire so swiftly. After laboriously hauling my bags up to the 6th floor, I pushed open the dormitory door to find a man seated by the window. Although we had been apart for merely a year, the sight of his familiar features evoked an overwhelming sense of nostalgia within me. The cumbersome luggage I held slipped from my grasp and fell to the ground with a dull thud. Upon hearing the commotion, Song Shurya's gaze lightly drifted towards me, and he let out a soft chuckle. "Shinshingzi, it's been a while." I stood there, taken aback by the coldness in his eyes, once so tender when directed at me, now devoid of any warmth. I was acutely aware that Song Shurya must be angry about my abrupt departure, yet I had never witnessed such a look from him before. His impassive demeanor rendered me breathless. "What a coincidence," I managed to say, stuck at the doorway, unable to advance or retreat, my only option a forced smile. Such a coincidence, indeed, that it nearly brought me to tears. I had deliberately chosen a city far from home, and yet here I was, face to face with Song Shurya. Knowing he was upset and unable to explain the reason behind my disappearance left me at a loss for words. How could I articulate that as a formidable alpha, I was left weak-kneed by another alpha's pheromones? I could never bring myself to utter such a thing. "Not a coincidence," he replied, a sardonic smile gracing his lips, his unusually dark eyes fixed intently on me, sending shivers down my spine. After that remark, he fell silent. What did he mean by not a coincidence? Did he truly not wish to see me? Disheartened, I realized that my abrupt vanishing act had irreparably strained my bond with Song Shurya. An air of silence enveloped us, and just as I racked my brain for excuses to alleviate the tension, Song Shurya suddenly averted his gaze, reaching into his pocket to retrieve a pack of cigarettes. Watching him skillfully extract a cigarette, light it, and place it between his lips, my pupils constricted. "When did you start smoking?" I inquired. Song Shurya smirked, though the humor did not reach his eyes. A year ago, precisely when I had discovered my ailment and left without a word. 2. After the onset of adulthood and the subsequent manifestation of my traits, Song Shurya and I had ventured to a bar together. It was there that I first became aware of my condition. The dim lighting and melodic tunes of the bar, combined with the intoxicating spirits, acted as a catalyst. Suddenly, an uproar erupted from the crowd, and a strong scent of oranges wafted through the air. An Omega had entered their heat. The frenzied pheromones sent all the alphas present into a frenzy. Yet I felt nothing. Song Shurya, affected by the commotion, leaned against my neck, his cheeks flushed. "Shingzi, are you feeling anything?" "What kind of feeling?" I frowned, puzzled by his question. "I only detect a strong scent of oranges." "Did someone spill a drink?" Upon hearing my response, Song Shurya appeared momentarily taken aback, followed by a deep, resonant laugh in my ear. "You can smell the Omega's scent and feel nothing? Are you truly an alpha?" This was the scent of an Omega? I inhaled deeply, but aside from the overwhelming fragrance that bordered on suffocating, I felt nothing else. Yet, common sense told me that such a response was anything but normal. I grew anxious. Is there something wrong? Song Shurya's cool breath brushed against the suppressants attached to my glands as he took a gentle sniff. "There's no issue. Everything is fine." I couldn't shake the feeling that there was a hint of disappointment in his tone. "That's good to hear." I sighed in relief. Song Shurya's face, which was pressed against my neck, quickly grew warm. "Is it unbearable?" I touched his forehead, which was burning hot. "Yes." He let out a soft hum, his entire being languidly leaning against me. I casually peeled off his suppressants. Does this make you feel a little better? Before I could hear his response, a powerful, rich scent of red wine invaded my nostrils amidst the overwhelming orange aroma. My legs buckled beneath me. With swift reflexes, Song Shurya caught me in his embrace. Why are you so slow to react? I found it somewhat amusing as his fingers gently pressed against my heated glands. Yet, I was acutely aware that it wasn't the scent of oranges that affected me, but rather the scent of red wine. The owner of that intoxicating aroma stood right before me, Song Shurya's pheromones. Yet we were both alphas. 3. Enveloped in Song Shurya's embrace, I found myself surrounded by the scent of red wine that emanated from him. I could hardly contain my restlessness. In this exchange of roles, the previously sickly Song Shurya now appeared lucid, while I could barely stand. Why are you reacting so strongly? He frowned. Do you want to leave? I nodded vigorously. Having inhaled too much of Song Shurya's pheromones at such close proximity, I feared my heat would arrive prematurely if I stayed any longer. However, I soon regretted that decision. Song Shurya's home was in close proximity to the bar. While the bar had offered various scents to dilute the seductive red wine aroma, his home was saturated with his essence. I felt increasingly distressed, forcing myself to maintain composure. Shurya, do you have any suppressants at home? No, he replied almost instantly. Hearing his words, I despaired and bit down on the pillow. I had no choice but to endure. Song Shurya rescued the poor pillow from my grasp. His voice was husky as he offered, if it becomes unbearable, I can help you. My mind was foggy, and I thought to myself that I didn't need his help. I just needed him to keep his distance. Yet, I could not voice this, allowing Song Shurya to assist me instead. The following day, my legs felt weak, but my mind was clear as I recalled everything that had transpired. Song Shurya was still lost in slumber. Not wanting to disturb him, I hurried to the hospital for an examination, only to discover I had contracted a rare condition that could potentially induce my heat in response to an alpha's pheromones. Indeed, even more severely than an omega's reaction. This meant that as long as Song Shurya did not apply suppressants, I would be at risk of going into heat whenever I was near him. Unable to accept this reality, I hastily packed my belongings and transferred schools overnight. This was the first time I encountered Song Shurya again after that. 4. With the arrival of more belongings for the new term, I began to organize my side of the room. Song Shurya, seemingly unconcerned, lit up a cigarette. One after another, he smoked, casting worried glances in my direction but unsure how to intervene, leaving him in silent agitation. When the other roommates arrived, I breathed a sigh of relief, thinking that perhaps Song Shurya would cease smoking in consideration of them. Yet, to my dismay, my hopes were dashed. Lin Yi entered, frowning at the sight of the smoke. My heart raced with anticipation for what he might say next. This smoke, he began, and I perked up, eager for his next words. It smells like good stuff, bro. Give me a puff. My expectations crumbled. Two smokers were now united. Song Shurya remained by the window, most of the smoke wafting outside, leaving only a faint scent lingering in the room, not enough to be overwhelming. Nevertheless, I feigned a cough. Song Shurya glanced at me but remained silent, pressing the half-finished cigarette into the ashtray. Lin Yi shot a glance at me and then at Song Shurya, inhaling deeply before discarding the remnant of his cigarette into the ashtray as well. He turned back to me, flashing a broad smile that revealed his perfectly white teeth. Rest assured, brother, we are of the highest quality. I found myself caught between laughter and tears at his words. After spending the entire afternoon packing, we were all drenched in sweat. Lin Yi seemed to be acquainted with another roommate and had already tidied up to take a shower. As I watched them emerge from the bathroom, steam rising around them, my eyes widened in surprise. Are you two in an AA relationship? What nonsense is that? We're just good buddies. Lin Yi replied with a cheeky smile, draping an arm around Zhang Yun's neck. It's much more convenient to shower together. Haven't you ever showered with a good friend? My astonishment reached new heights. Was it truly acceptable to bathe together at such a level of camaraderie? Suddenly, the usually taciturn Song Shurya spoke up. How long have you known each other? Lin Yi proudly lifted his chin. We've been playing together since childhood. Is that so? Then your bond must be quite strong, Song Shurya remarked in a neutral tone. Of course, Lin Yi responded, his desire for attention intensifying as he tugged at the exasperated Zhang Yun. We've never had any conflicts. I truly envy that, Song Shurya said, his gaze fleetingly brushing over me. I understood the underlying implication all too well, but I feigned ignorance, silently organizing my toiletries. After I finished washing up, Song Shurya passed by me, and I caught a whiff of that familiar scent of red wine, causing my knees to weaken. I hurriedly retreated to my bed. The room was now saturated with the scent of an alpha. In the dormitory, shedding suppression patches is a commonplace act, and it was entirely normal for everyone to do so in such a private space. My body reacted involuntarily, and I suddenly felt a wave of discomfort. How does it feel? My pheromones have a pear-like scent. They smell delightful, don't they? Linyi grinned as he saw me emerge. I nodded, attempting to appear as composed as possible. Yes, it smells quite pleasant. What about you, Xingxiai? What do your pheromones smell like? I haven't noticed, Linyi said, taking a deep breath. The air was infused with only 3 types of alpha scents, and his curiosity about mine was evident as he stared at me with wide, gleaming eyes. Lychee, but I've applied a suppression patch, I replied casually, drawing the bed curtain. The heat within me surged in waves, an unpleasant sensation. I fumbled to retrieve a suppressor and administered an injection. Hey, are you going to sleep this early?
Linyi murmured softly.
Although he was still curious as to why I was wearing a suppression patch in the dormitory. However, he was perceptive enough to remain silent when he saw me draw the curtain. After administering the injection, my symptoms eased considerably, and I sighed with relief. Yet, my respite was short-lived. When Song Shurya emerged after his shower, the room was enveloped in the rich aroma of his red wine pheromones. I felt my previously cooled blood boil once more, and I let out a muffled groan. The moment the sound escaped my lips, I realized the gravity of the situation. The room fell into an eerie silence. Song Shurya's clear voice shattered the stillness. Xingxiai, what's wrong with you? I endured the discomfort and replied, just a slight cold. Song Shurya fell silent. Just as I anticipated he would come over to draw back my curtain, I heard distinct footsteps, but they were not approaching me. Instead, he turned to his bed. I exhaled in relief, suppressing the faint sense of disappointment that surfaced within me. The doctor had once stated that suppressants were ineffective, and it seemed that was indeed the case. I endured a sleepless night, biting into my pillow to stifle any sound. By the following morning, I looked utterly fatigued. Wow, you look terrible, Linyi exclaimed, pointing at my face in astonishment. I managed a wry smile. Anyone who endured a night like that would look unwell. If this continued, I would surely be sent to the hospital within a month due to unfulfilled desires. Couldn't allow that. I slapped my cheeks to rally my spirits. I must find a suitable reason to move out. Yawning heavily, I arrived in class, where the first lesson was a mundane one. In front of me, a couple unabashedly exchanged affectionate gestures. The soft Omega nestled in the embrace of the Alpha. Mugu, when are we moving out? My heat is approaching. Once I finish packing, we will move out, the Alpha said, lovingly pinching the boy's cheek. In my half-dreaming state, a thought struck me. Yes, if I claimed I was in a relationship, moving out would be as easy as pie. This reasoning was flawless, making me want to smile. Thus, I drifted off into a pleasant slumber. When I awoke, I was bewilderingly nestled in Song Shurya's embrace. Struggling to rise, I stammered, "What are you?" Song Shurya interrupted, his demeanor a stark contrast to the previous day's coldness, his voice gentle. "Did you not sleep well?" His gaze, imbued with concern, transported me back to our high school days. In those times, when I would doze off uncomfortably during breaks, Song Shurya would kindly act as my pillow. Back then, classmates deemed our closeness overly sentimental, but now I realized how intimate we had been. I instinctively rubbed my flushed cheek, nodding under his watchful gaze. "Yes, a bit tired. Be sure to rest well," he advised, lifting his hand as if to touch my face. Yet, he paused, redirecting his hand to smooth my tousled hair instead. After fixing my hair, he averted his gaze and picked up his backpack, his tone once again indifferent. "I'm leaving now." Huh? I was still processing his words when he reached the classroom door. It wasn't until he pushed the door open and vanished from sight that I regained my senses. Hastily, I gathered my books. By the time I rushed out, Song Shurya had already disappeared. Sighing heavily, I reflected that a shift towards estrangement was far better than letting Song Shurya discover my affliction and subsequently distancing himself from me. I found a bitter humor in my thoughts. After my departure, a thin veil of white mist began to rise from behind the wall on the other side of the classroom. Although I had found an excuse to move out, I felt I should at least stay in the dormitory for a week to avoid arousing suspicion. To ensure this week passed without incident, I stocked up on suppressants and patches. Although the doctor had claimed the suppressants were ineffective, using them was surely better than not using them at all. Additionally, I tightly clutched the sleeping pills I had painstakingly acquired. This would be my last resort. If I could fall asleep, I would avoid any reactions. With everything prepared, I patiently awaited the nightfall. Strangely, when Song Shurya emerged from the shower, his pheromones were absent from the room. Song-gu, are you wearing a suppression patch too?
Linye questioned, perplexed.
It was uncomfortable to wear one, so why were both of them doing it? I was equally puzzled and strained to hear Song Shurya's response. Perhaps my sensitivity period is approaching. I don't want to affect you too, he replied, his tone devoid of emotion. He cast a fleeting glance at me before quickly averting his eyes. Make sure to rest well tonight, he added. I couldn't discern to whom he was speaking, as he was facing the wall. Linyi glanced around, noticing no one was responding. He couldn't let the conversation fall flat, so he replied, okay. But my face turned pale with disbelief. Song Shurya. Did he somehow know? Surely it was just a coincidence. I reassured myself. After discovering my condition, I had fled, so how could he possibly be aware? I must be scaring myself unnecessarily, I thought with a self-deprecating smile. However, with Song Shurya's sensitivity period upon him, I felt a wave of relief. Finally, I could enjoy a decent night's sleep. Yet, this was merely temporary. I still needed to find an Omega partner to move out with, but who would that be? I fell into deep contemplation. After contemplating throughout the night, I awoke the next day with an impeccable candidate in mind, Liu Beichen. He is my dear friend since transferring schools. Though he is an alpha, he possesses a certain adorableness, and aside from him, I found no one else who could accompany me in this charade. Perfect choice indeed. I reached out to him to explain the situation, and as anticipated, he readily agreed. I quietly awaited the passage of a week. During the weekend, with everyone gathered in the dormitory, I feigned nonchalance, although my intention was quite deliberate. I have entered a relationship and plan to move out. Song Shurya paused in his phone scrolling, seemingly taken aback, while Linyi gasped in astonishment. What? That's rather swift. What does that Omega look like? Let me see. Linyi leaned closer, eager to satisfy his curiosity, and I shared a photo with him. Quite cute. I envy you. It's evident that being attractive expedites the process of finding a partner. Linyi chuckled, elbowing Jiang Yun aside, prompting him to burst into laughter.
Linye.
Feeling somewhat insulted, retorted, what is so funny? Jiang Yun, with an innocent expression, replied, you poked my ticklish spot. I watched them bask in their light-hearted atmosphere, feeling a pang of envy. Had I not been afflicted with this illness, perhaps my relationship with Song Shurya would have been similarly carefree. Upon hearing my news of entering a relationship, Song Shurya remained silent, his phone resting atop the table. He lowered his head to extract a cigarette, merely toying with it in his hand without taking a puff. When our eyes met, he forcefully pressed the cigarette into the ashtray, a sardonic smile barely gracing his lips. You certainly are quite capable, Shin Xingzi. His tone, a mix of exasperation and suppressed fury, indicated that he was indeed angry. While my sudden relationship might be deemed somewhat unethical, Song Shurya's reaction was more intense than I had anticipated. Unsure of how to proceed, my silence only served to heighten his displeasure. He cast a resigned glance in my direction, his eyes brimming with unspoken emotions that I struggled to decipher, igniting a sharp ache within me. Song Shurya then casually grabbed his phone and strode out with long strides. I felt compelled to follow. Will there be a confrontation? Should we go after them? Linyi looked at Jiang Yun in confusion. Don't worry about it, Jiang Yun replied, a hint of exasperation in his voice.
Linye.
Though well-meaning, often lacked awareness. All right, he conceded, scratching his nose. But if you secretly enter a relationship behind my back, I'll make you regret it. He clenched his fist, wide-eyed, half-joking yet somewhat threatening. Jiang Yun smirked, teasingly responding, I'm so scared. Linyi, feeling mocked, retaliated playfully. You're asking for it.
Song Shie, wait for me.
As I witnessed him about to disappear around the corner, I hurriedly called out. Upon hearing my voice, he halted but did not turn, leaving me with the sight of his solitary figure. Song Shurya hails from a single-parent household and is 2 years my junior. He has a propensity for anger. From a young age, I recognized that I had to often yield to his whims to see him smile. Little Song Shirya despised it when I played with others. He would scowl, sulking nearby. Although he remained silent, I could sense his jealousy, prompting me to tease him. If you don't cheer up, I'll get upset. Young Song Shirya would then leap into my arms, tears glistening in his eyes. Brother Xingxi, if you're upset, I'll be happy. I found it amusing to coax him, yet my heart ached when I saw him cry. As time passed, I gradually ceased to form friendships outside of my bond with Song Shirya. I never felt lonely. One friend was just right for me. I needed Song Shirya, and he needed me. Yet, how could I have fallen ill? I would rather undergo a second transformation into an Omega than endure this affliction. But I could not voice this. I stepped forward, grasping his sleeve. What's wrong? Why are you angry? We can discuss this calmly. Discuss calmly, he scoffed, a derisive laugh escaping him. He turned, his eyes ablaze with suppressed fury as he looked down at me, his voice low and gravelly. I've endured this for far too long, Shin Xingxi. Though he had consistently called me by my full name since our reunion, this instance sent a shiver down my spine. At a loss for words, I could only stammer, "Please don't be angry." "Ha," he replied with a cold laugh, appearing weary as he leaned against the wall, long, pale fingers pinching the bridge of his nose. "Are you feeling unwell?" I detested seeing Song Shirya frown. Yet, in the absence of a coherent explanation, I resorted to the most futile of comfort phrases. If you're angry, don't be angry. If you're sad, don't be sad. Perhaps realizing I lacked the words he longed to hear, he took several deep breaths, suddenly settling into an eerie calm. "You shouldn't have come looking for me." I was prepared to let go. His voice dropped to a whisper, almost as if he were speaking to himself. "What?" I failed to catch his words. "Nothing," he shook his head, forcing a smile that barely reached his eyes. "Let us go. You plan to move out, right? I'll help you pack." Seeing no anger on Song Shirya's face, I felt a wave of relief wash over me. Okay. Due to my recent relocation, my belongings were minimal, and I quickly packed everything. Carrying my bags, I made my way downstairs, while Song Shirya managed a suitcase with relative ease. "I can handle the rest. I've called a car and it will arrive shortly." I wiped the sweat from my forehead. "Aren't you going to check out your new home?" Song Shirya raised an eyebrow, his earlier indifference dissipating. Taken aback by his sudden interest, I found myself elated. "If you want to come, of course you can," I eagerly responded, fearing he might change his mind. His unexpected friendliness opened the floodgates of conversation, and once we were in the car, I chattered incessantly. "Once I've settled in, if you want to come visit, just text me in advance. I'm always available. The apartment has 2 bedrooms and a living room. If you want, you can stay a few days. The location is quite convenient, with lots of amenities nearby." In my excitement, I spoke at length, while Song Shirya listened in silence, occasionally nodding, his dark eyes fixated on my lips. Long ago, I realized that although I was the elder brother who often cared for Song Shirya, as we grew older, he matured and began to look after me instead. To say that Song Shirya couldn't live without me would be more accurate to say that I couldn't live without him. Thus, I cherished our friendship all the more. After rambling on, I noticed my cheeks were flushed. Am I being a bit annoying? I suddenly became self-conscious and covered my mouth. It had been me doing all the talking, while Song Shirya had yet to utter a single word. When I glanced at him, he turned away, pressing the button for the car window. As the wind rushed in, I heard him say, "No, let us enjoy the moment while we can." In the year I had been away, Song Shirya had become increasingly enigmatic. Sometimes I found it difficult to comprehend his words, such as just now. I bit my lip and fell silent. After much effort, I finally managed to get everything settled. I clapped my hands to rid them of non-existent dust. "Shall we go out to eat?" "Not in a hurry," Song Shirya replied lazily, leaning against the door with his arms crossed. "When is he coming?" I quickly pieced together that Song Shirya was inquiring about Liu Beichen. "He should be arriving next week." I casually offered a date. Song Shirya appeared quite pleased upon hearing this, his eyes crinkling into a smile. "There is ample time," he remarked. I have gradually acclimated to Song Shirya's way of thinking and responded in kind. "Indeed, it is quite sufficient." "Oh, why is the door locked from the inside?" I approached the door, intending to open it, only to find the doorknob unyielding. Song Shirya extended his hand, the key dangling from his index finger. Leaning against the wall, he regarded me with a playful gaze. "Are you searching for this?" A sudden wave of foreboding washed over me. My voice trembled slightly. Shurya, let us go out for dinner. I'm not hungry. I crave something else, he replied, his eyes glinting with mischief. Abruptly, the scent of red wine pheromones enveloped the room, overwhelming me with its intensity. I was too close to him. I inhaled deeply several times, my head spinning slightly. Biting my tongue, I managed to stammer, Song Shurya, what are you doing? I want to go outside. He remained silent, and growing impatient. I reached for the key in his hand. Song Shurya deliberately raised his arm, and with a swift motion, his left hand encircled me. My already weak knees buckled, sending me tumbling into his embrace, inhaling another wave of pheromones. His low, amused laughter resonated in my ears as he sighed softly. Does the scent of an omega please you as much as my own? Struck as if by lightning, my last coherent thought before losing consciousness was one of despair. Song Shurya effortlessly carried me to the bed. Completely dominated by the pheromones, I clung to his collar, desperate. Kiss me. I looked up, thirstily fixated on Song Shurya's soft lips, which appeared delectable and inviting. He smirked, you want to take it yourself. As I pulled him down for a kiss, just as our lips were about to meet, he intentionally tilted his head upward, causing me to plant a kiss on his chin instead. What's the matter? I gazed at him in confusion. With a sly smile, he replied, not a chance. Realizing I had been outmaneuvered, a mix of frustration and helplessness surged within me. I tugged at his collar, yearning to kiss his lips, but he resolutely denied me. After several failed attempts, I pushed him away in anger and buried my face in the pillow. Song Shurya, unfazed, leaned over the edge of the bed, propping his handsome face to observe me. He seemed carefree while I was tormented. Each breath of pheromones felt like being roasted over a fire, my entire being clamoring for him. Wanting to kiss Song Shurya, to be kissed by him, to be marked by him. Thus, I was the first to concede in this silent struggle. I turned my head, revealing my flushed cheeks, and looked at Song Shurya, shy yet resolute. Just kiss me once. Brother. When did I realize that calling Song Shurya brother would fulfill my every desire? Back in high school, I was quite lazy. While my classmates headed out for dinner together, I preferred to catch up on sleep in the classroom. Not wanting to go alone, Song Shurya would relent whenever I playfully called him brother, his ears turning crimson. He had likely never encountered someone so unabashedly brazen in his life, always yielding during our standoffs. This tactic was unfailingly effective. The instant Song Shurya heard those words, his expression shifted to one of danger, the veins in his temples bulging as he swallowed hard, audible in the silence. Just when I thought he would lean in for a kiss, he spoke. His youthful voice, tinged with desire and a slight tremor, conveyed an undercurrent of fear. The last time I touched you, you avoided me for a year. How long will you evade me this time? His knuckles trembled slightly. I instinctively felt a pang of sadness, yet words of comfort eluded me. I want to run away, brother. Please help me. I feel so miserable. I curled up, gasping for breath, my gaze pleading with Song Shurya, the one who could alleviate my distress. Finally, he rose and leaned over me. His voice was soft, like a fleeting breeze. Shinshingtsi, tell me you love me. Brother, I love you. Song Shurya shook his head. Call me Shurya, Song Shurya. Song Shurya, I love you. I love you too. Song Shurya closed his eyes and leaned in to kiss me. The kiss tasted nothing like I had imagined. It was cold, bitter, and left my heart aching. I woke first from this frenzy. Song Shurya's brow was tightly furrowed, and I reached out to touch his forehead. It felt slightly warm. Yesterday, I had lost consciousness, driven by an alpha's instinct to mark Song Shurya. Now, the two alpha pheromones within him clashed. His skin bore the marks of my bites, while my own remained unscathed, filling me with guilt. I descended from the bed. In my unopened luggage lay some fever medicine that I intended to prepare for him. As I stepped down, a powerful grip seized my wrist. You still have the strength to run? I should have marked you yesterday. Song Shurya's voice was low, so faint I wondered if I was imagining it. Song Shurya, are you awake? I called softly. With great effort, he lifted his eyelids, his eyelashes trembling as I could see his mind battling his body. Song Shurya, just rest, I soothed, and at last he opened his eyes. Don't go. All right. I want to leave, I promised hastily. Upon hearing my words, Song Shurya seemed to relax, slipping back into unconsciousness, his hand falling limp. I could only smile wryly, resigned to preparing a packet of medicine for him. Song Shurya, it's time for your medicine. He did not respond. I held the spoonful of medicine to his lips, but they remained tightly shut, causing the liquid to trickle down his chin. This man, I sighed, taking a deep breath and pressed my lips against his, administering the medicine mouth to mouth. The bitterness of the concoction made me grimace. Just as I pondered how to pry his lips apart, when our mouths touched, it seemed to trigger something within him. He grasped the back of my head, deepening the kiss. When it ended, his face radiated satisfaction. So sweet. Is there more? I glanced at the nearly empty medicine bottle and the starkly bitter label, suppressing a smile. No, that's all. Song Shurye smacked his lips, appearing disappointed, then pulled me close and fell into a deep slumber, sleeping until the sun dipped low in the sky. When Song Shurye awoke, the first thing he did was feel for the blanket beside him. Its temperature had long since turned cold, reminiscent of that morning, and an overwhelming sense of panic surged within him. He bolted upright, calling out, "Shen Xingzi, I'm here." Hearing the commotion, I closed my book and opened the balcony door. "You didn't leave." Seeing me there, perfectly fine, Song Shurye sighed in relief. "Yes, I'm not going anywhere. From now on, I won't leave." "What do you mean by that?" At my words, Song Shurye instinctively tightened his grip on the blanket. I simply looked into his eyes, conveying my sincerity and resolve. "Song Shurye, let us be together. We are in an AA relationship, your father." I chose not to elaborate further. Mrs. Song is a pitiable soul. The husband she has known since childhood, for 2 decades, turned out to be deeply closeted. After she became pregnant, he abandoned her and their child upon encountering his destined alpha. Alone, Mrs. Song gave birth to Song Shurye. I grew up alongside him, yet my memories of Mrs. Song are scant. On the rare occasions we met, she always appeared haggard and impatient. I was uncertain if she harbored any resentment towards AA relationships, but it was clear she would not easily accept it. It seemed Song Shurye sensed my hesitation. He chuckled softly. "You actually remember that?" I had forgotten. After saying this, he playfully scratched my palm and winked at me. "It's all right, come inside with me." Damn it, it's the submission deadline again. As soon as the door swung open, Mrs. Song's furious voice echoed through the space, startling me. Song Shurye, however, seemed unfazed by this scene and squeezed my hand in a gesture of comfort. "Mom, I've brought my boyfriend home." "Wait a moment, let me finish this piece," she replied without lifting her head. Song Shurye shrugged helplessly. "I suppose we shall wait." We sat on the couch for 2 long hours. He lounged casually while I maintained a rigid posture. Noticing my discomfort, Song Shurye laughed merrily. "Relax a bit. My mom won't bite you." How easy it is for him to say that. I silently resolved to make him wait for 2 hours when I brought him home, so he could share in my agony. My rigid position was becoming unbearable, and just as I was about to give in, Mrs. Song finally completed her work. "Finally done. I'm utterly exhausted," she exclaimed, rubbing her back and massaging her arms. As she approached me, her weary, lifeless eyes swept over me, sending a chill down my spine. After scrutinizing both me and Song Shurye for a moment, she suddenly broke into a bright, cheerful smile. "Not bad. You've finally won him over. I always knew you two were meant for each other." "Wait, Mrs. Song is like this?" Before I could fully process this revelation, she plopped down beside me, gripping my hand. "Xingzi, you can't stay mad at Shurye any longer. The last time you transferred schools, he couldn't eat or sleep well, spending every day trying to find out which school you were at. After finally discovering it, he enrolled in the same university as you. In order to be in the same dormitory, he called both the counselor and the principal, working tirelessly to switch rooms. You have no idea how he cried under the covers every night, heartbroken." Listening to her mother's barrage of revelations, Song Shurye could no longer maintain his relaxed demeanor and straightened up, his face flushed to the point of resembling ripe fruit. "Mom, stop talking nonsense." "Nonsense? Isn't that exactly how it was?" Mrs. Song shot her son a knowing look. Meanwhile, I was taken aback, finally understanding the meaning behind Song Shurye's earlier remark of unfortunate. A wave of guilt washed over me, and I lowered my head, murmuring a quiet apology to him. Song Shurye's face displayed concern, but before he could respond, Mrs. Song interjected. "What are you apologizing for? I know without you saying that Song Shurye bullied you, and that's why you ran away. Humph, you can't escape my watchful eyes. If he dares to bully you again, you tell me, and I'll give him a good thrashing." Though I had never interacted with Mrs. Song before, I was pleasantly surprised by her kindness. I felt ashamed of my previous assumptions and grasped her hand. Thank you, Mom. So you didn't run away because I bumped into you that time? After leaving Song Shurya's home, it seemed he had pieced together some matters. How could it be because of that trivial incident? My face flushed with heat, leaving me at a loss for words. Song Shurya interpreted my silence as an answer. All right, he chuckled through gritted teeth. That absent father left me with a scar. Who could have known that they truly did not care, as if I were the only one invested in the matter? I looked down, feeling like a child caught in wrongdoing. No, I'm truly upset. Shinshingzi, you must kiss me. The more he pondered, the angrier he became, and suddenly, he pulled me into an embrace. Obediently, I grasped his collar and stood on my toes to plant a kiss on him. Are you still angry now? Not anymore. Kissed him again. Are you happy now? Happy. Song Shurya grinned like a fool, having reaped the benefits. I leaned in for another kiss. Do you love me? I love you dearly, Shinshingzi. I love you too, Song Shurya. This autumn let us be together. The end. Thank you for listening. We shall meet again in the next story.